you can big picture think shifts in your mindset in building a legacy business. Because I believe that now with all this content everywhere, educational content is great, but content that makes you shift your perspective in growing a legacy business is even better. So that's what I'm going to attempt to share with you guys today. So again, thank you so much. This is day 1 of the 7 days of the free workshop series that I am so happily organizing to really make the impact that I believe I could make with my work. And today we're going to be talking about think legacy. So legacy, all the what do we need to, at least what I've learned from my experience with working with entrepreneurs and corporations, what does it really take to build a legacy business? What kind of mindset shifts do we need to make? What are some of the things that we need to think about so that we can make that impact and that we are looking for? We all started our business as I always think that we're all purpose-driven entrepreneurs. At least that was my journey. For some of you that don't know me, or maybe we haven't priorly connected before, this is actually would be a great way. That's why I'm very intentional with who's actually joining Zoom. Be a great time to say hi and get to know one another. With a lot of you, we've had some amazing time on Zoom, so it's really cool to see you here as well. So for those of you that don't know a little bit about my background, I'll go in very shortly, kind of just to connect it with the content that I want to share with you guys today. I come from the corporate world. Hi, Julie. Welcome. Please mute your microphone so that I'll make sure that, again, I'm very intentional with your time, and we are just running through this with great engagement, but also with great takeaways, because I know that's why you're here, right? So that's definitely what we're going to be focusing on. So anyway, 15 years in a corporate environment, natively Albanian. I came to New York when I was 15 with my parents, and I've never moved yet. My plan is in the next 5 years to move to a warm place. So that's kind of, my long-term vision, I guess, as my kids get a little bit older. If you're parents in here, I have a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old, boy and a girl. So that's our plan. So culture-wise, obviously my parents came here for better opportunities. So it was very early stated to me that I need to finish college, get a good job, and, buy a house, get married, have 2 kids and a dog. And that's really what I did. So I followed that traditional path many years. I can't say that I was very grateful for my corporate experience, of course. I think that actually built me for the person that I am today. I did climb the corporate ladder every 2 years, is climbing up the ladder from, I was in the retail industry, Fortune 500 company. So I did HR, I did marketing, management, sales, and my latest position was an executive leader. But I always say every journey has an end, right? Because I no longer felt aligned with the company was purchased by another company, and the culture turned into a profit-driven culture. So of course, that was the end for me, because I was seen as a number, and also my team, the culture there, we're not feeling part of a vision, mission of what the company was driving forward. And that's where I started also finding some inner conflicts. I says, wait a minute, traditionally success, what I had achieved based on what I thought was success, I was not feeling happy. I was not happily achieving. Now I know better, but then I did not know why my outside success was not aligning inner self as well. So I had to do a lot of inner work. Personal development is where I sort of went heavy into that. But long story short, I ventured out into entrepreneurship, not right away. I built my business for 2 years while I was still working, because again, I was very cautious, very safe mindset wise, employee mindset. Now I know better. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that difference. I mean, most of you are entrepreneurs, so I think you are obviously already understand the difference between employee mindset and entrepreneur mindset, how different it is. But I've had my journey of kind of exploring, the differences in mindset. So that's kind of, what happened at the beginning of the journey. I had to do a lot of that. So I did executive coaching, career coaching, and I'm in positions of business strategist. So before I go into any deeper with the content, it was suggested. So the book that I recently launched is called Purpose-Driven Entrepreneurship. So in your details, emails, you should have received a suggestion to get it, because a lot of the content that I'm going to be talking about throughout these 7 days, and that's how I structure these workshops, so that each day I go through a chapter through the framework that obviously I've seen with I've already built a 7-figure business going into scaling it to make more impact this year. So I've worked with lots of entrepreneurs. Some of my clients are in here actually now, but also I work with corporations because, there's familiarity. I still love my corporations. I attract a lot of purpose-driven corporations that are looking to grow their companies with systems and leadership. So that's usually at the highest scale. That's usually what is the main pain point for a lot of entrepreneurs, that might not have that exposure yet in corporations. But for entrepreneurs, that's really what I've seen, right? The framework of mindset, branding, marketing, sales, systems, and team. These are the foundational pieces that every entrepreneur needs to know, right? Because at the end of the day, business is the same, right? Whether we build a business online or whether we build a business locally. And I've had experience with all, because I'm also an investor in my mindset. And I'll speak a little bit about that, because I think you need to really have a mindset of an investor in your business, of how can you invest back in the business as the business grows and as you receive more cash flow coming in towards you, right? I mean, I think that's really important because you need to think like a CEO. You need to think like a visionary leader. So that's also really important as well. But, just to kind of, connect the dots between that, that's why I launched my book, because I said, okay, I wanted to have my structured framework into chapters where the content is not overwhelming for people. It's very straightforward, but it's also things that people could take away. And I always say, once you understand those, 7 pillars, then you have the foundations. And I always think of business as a home. So once you have the foundation straight, then you can build on top of it. You can build, 2nd floors, 3 floors, 4 floors. You can build a building, I don't know, a mansion, a hotel, whatever you like, right? So that would be the legacy mindset that I want to share with you guys as well. But obviously your foundation has to be strong. And these pieces of information throughout this to day 1 all the way to day 7 are all going to work together. So I'm going to attempt to connect it all for you. So it's not like, because we all hear about these things separately, especially in the online world, like, okay, I know mindset is important. I know that maybe we need to brand or position ourselves well in the marketplace. I know I need to market, which most entrepreneurs run away from. That was me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to market. It's different from what I learned in the corporate world. I got to sell. Oh my gosh, that's another big one, right? So how do you connect all of these? And then you got to create systems. Otherwise, you'll be chained to your desk forever. When I started my business, I'm like, I'm working 24/7. I started this thing for freedom. But of course, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I think it's like a saying that I always say, and as entrepreneurs, we're always learning and growing. We always think that we build our business, but I think our business builds us because we learn that there's so much that we need to really know. And sometimes we don't always have the pieces. So we're like puzzle piecing everything, right? I'm not going to say that's why it helps to have a mentor that's been there, done that, and they get short and cut, the journey for you, and to be like, okay, here's the steps. Obviously, you still got to align with your own business and all of that. But again, I've worked with different types of service businesses. So I work with coaches. I worked with financial industry. I worked with medical industry, right? So, but what I've seen, it's all the same. The foundation is all the same. So that's kind of what I want to attempt to share with you guys in all these 7 days. Things that you can repurpose. I always say, once you get the education, knowledge, and skills, you can build any business. The business model doesn't matter, because today you build a business model that makes sense for you, but then your business will evolve tomorrow, right? So business models change. I never get attached to business models. I don't suggest anyone gets attached to business models. You fall in love with serving your people. the more you fall in love with serving your potential clients or your actual clients, that's how you're going to build a legacy brand. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. But sometimes things just kind of, happen organically as I'm sharing some of these things. So anyway, you've all heard. Before we actually start, let me know in the chat, where are you guys based and how do we connect together? I would love to know, because I would love to make this engaging. I never liked, I did a lot of corporate presentation styles in my career, but I never liked that I was like always the only one talking. So I love facilitation, engagement. It's always the best type of environment that you always learn from one another. So you're always sharing, things. So let me know in the chat. I have the Zoom chat open here. So let me know where you are logging in from. Eric from LinkedIn, nice to have you here. Thanks so much for being here. Lehigh is from Midwest, US. I'm in New York. It's very warm weather, so we are very lucky and blessed. And this is from Massachusetts. I can never say it. Massachusetts. Okay, I think I did okay with that. Boston, right? Love that. I have a lot of friends in Boston, especially from my Albanian community. So you are from my Albanian community. It's really cool. Thank you so much for being here. And my beautiful Anila. Anila is Anila from Montreal. Welcome. And Sarah, DMV. What does that mean, Sarah? Sarah, feel free to open up your mic. Okay, well, Sarah finds that. I'm so curious.
It's DC metro area, DC Virginia metro area.
+1.
Okay, there you go.
Hi, Eric.
Awesome.
Yeah,
nice to meet you. Thanks so much for sharing that. Devani, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. I'm known for butchering names. That's not my forte. But I hope I'm saying your name correctly. New York City, cool. We're like neighbors. I was like, when I connect with people from like around here, I'm like, oh yeah, we're your neighbor. We could just connect live, might as well. Corey, New York, yay, Long Island. Love that. Thank you so much for sharing that as well. Awesome. Thank you guys. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you all here. So let's dive into the content. So long-term vision. I just jotted down some of the main things that I wanted to share with you because I want to keep you very focused. So we all heard of vision. We've all heard of the reason why, right? I always say if your why doesn't make you cry, you can't last. So have a long-term vision, really understand the impact. I think it's all about the impact here. So what is it you want to make? Why did you start with your, what you're doing, your business, right? What kind of meaningful work, purposeful work is it that you want to do in the world, right? Based on what you have explored so far with, your gifts, your authenticity, your life experience. I think life experience is really important. It really teaches us sort of where we need to stand, what are our strengths, what is our past experience, right? And I don't want to make this at the beginning. I know a lot of you obviously already know what you stand for in the market. You have businesses already. So, but it's important to really have that long-term vision. And what I've learned from, again, I will compare a lot from corporate mindset or employee mindset to entrepreneur mindset. I had a lot of income goals, right? So sometimes when you start with those income goals, and I know we all start our business for freedom, right? And we think that obviously we want to work on alignment. We want to build it the way we feel the most aligned, and we want to make the impact that we want to make. But a lot of times we set income goals, and I've learned that business has to be built. So whatever phase and stage you're in, you have to build the business. And the only way that you are going to feel fulfilled daily, wake up every day with a passion, with a commitment, consistency, discipline, and persistence that it takes. And I intentionally say those 4 words because they're very important. This is the mindset, right? So in order to stay committed, consistent, disciplined, and persistent, which is actually the key words in entrepreneurship. I mean, I don't think anyone makes it in this journey if you don't have those four things. And those are learned, right? Learned skills. Maybe some of us might have had prior experience, so we had to stay consistent or committed or disciplined, right? And that's good. You've already developed the habits. And some of us, might struggle with that in day to day, right? Sometimes we lose our purpose, is what I say. I have days where I'm like, why am I doing what I'm doing again? You don't have that motivation and the inspiration because you lose focus and purpose in the day to day, because you have a lot of challenges in the way that come towards you, right? Let's just say with you're testing a lot, you are facing rejection on a daily basis. You're always in this journey of finding the people, right? Making sure that you're finding your right fit clients or people that you can serve at a higher level. And a lot of that comes with a journey that's not so linear, so to speak, right? Not such a linear journey. You have bumps in the road, you have things that come towards you. You are talking to a lot of people, you're putting yourself out there, right? And a lot of times you might not be getting the traction that you might be looking for in the form, obviously, of results, which most entrepreneurs, that's what we want, right? We want clients, sales, so that we could take that, serve our personal goals, but then, of course, hopefully reinvest back in the business, right? So, for most entrepreneurs, for most business owners, that's kind of how we think, right? So that's kind of the difference between an employee mindset and an entrepreneur mindset. I had such a hard time with this one at the beginning, because I'm like, I had a high salary, and I was used to, no matter what, I would get paid monthly, because I would get paid monthly and bonuses and all that at the end of the year. So entrepreneurship, I'm like, okay, thank God I did build a business, let's say, while I was still working, but not everybody might be in that path or the way their journey started in entrepreneurship, right? And I would say that it takes some time to build a business. We always hear about build a business and they will come. I don't think that's true. I think they lie to us. Build a business and go find them. Right? So you build a business and you go find them. So this is the journey. It's not the other way around. So when you have that employee mindset, you get compensated for your time and energy very right away, so to speak. But when you're an entrepreneur, you need to always be building. And whatever you're doing, I always think that things that we do as entrepreneurs is always like projects that we're moving forward, right? Because we might have projects that we're moving forward, we're investing, I don't know, in the marketing, we're networking, we're doing a lot of different things sometimes, but they're all projects moving forward, and they're supposed to feed into that bigger vision and mission that you have, for your business and the impact that you want to make. So clarifying what that vision and the impact that you want to make is crucial, I would say. That's the first thing, because the other thing is belief, right? Believing that impact is something that is personal to you. And I always say, in order to sustain this and keep this up for a long time, you have to connect this to other people and the way you're serving others, right? Because if you just keep it all by me and all by my personal goals that I have, you will lose purpose very soon. Because we will always do more for others than we do for ourselves. We've overheard this, I'm sure. We're also now in January, so where everybody's setting their goals for the year and all of that, right? So we understand that in order to do anything that is going to stick, we always do it for us moms, mostly for our kids sometimes, right? Or for our loved ones, or because, we want to give back to our parents, right? There's a lot of things I do because I want to pay back, I guess, their sacrifice or whatever they did to me, right? And that drives you. It gives you the fire, that gives you the discipline that you need to do the right next thing that you need to do, even in the days that you don't feel like it. And this is actually appropriate now with this time of the year too, because as we are setting our Q1, our yearly goals for our business, the biggest pain point for a lot of us is staying consistent, right? We clarify what we want to do, but then when it comes to execution, ensuring that we, do the things that we need, that's kind of where a lot of times, I read it on Google the other day, it was 43% of the people that set goals by the beginning of January they've already let them go by the end of January, and only 9% follow through on them. So yeah, that's a big gap there. So filling that gap is really, obviously deeper mindset work and all of that, and figuring out how to build small habits for you, and finding out, where you are stopping, what is the stories you're telling yourself and all that. But I'm not going to go into deeper, obviously, in this workshop. It's just more about higher level things that I think it will be really helpful for you, that will, move you forward with that as well. Thank you so much, Eric. Yeah, you are welcome. Not a problem. Oh, I just wanted to share something with you. So for this workshop, speaking of commitment, Eric, not a problem. If you have to go, you have to go. I am only recording it for content repurposing purposes, but I obviously only want committed people here. So there's not going to be replays. This is not going live anywhere else. So I want you to stay committed for yourself and your goals. So make the time to be here. Like I said, I will keep it within 60 minutes for all the days of the week, so that you can, make it a priority and plan around it. I promise you, you'll walk away with the big picture. In all the 7 days, I'll promise you, you'll have all my 20 years experience in all the different days, where you kind of now know, like, okay, here's the big picture that I have, the high level stuff I need to know. And then what you do with it is up to you. Of course, I have an offer that I can help you do it, but I take the information and just go on and do what you need to do. For me, that's the mission, the impact, that I shared what I know and what I think is, of course, helpful. So you do with that as you please, for sure. So
much appreciated.
Problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to have met you on Zoom, and looking forward to seeing you in all the rest of the days.
Likewise. Take care.
No problem. All right. So long-term vision. So business must be built. A lot of marketing online, I think, does not service entrepreneurs, because we also always hear, I call it bait marketing, and you probably have heard it. We have this false superficial marketing where you're like, okay, I made $1 million in 30 days in my business. I landed a client that's paying me $50,000 a month in my business. I think this is superficial marketing, and it needs to go away, because it's not really servicing entrepreneurs. You don't even know the process or the building that someone has done, the skills that they have, whether they're working with a mentor, the relationships they have built over time, so they can leverage those to have that ultimate result of, I don't know, high-paying client, right? Because what does most entrepreneurs want? They want consistent income and clients, and they want clients that can pay for their services, right? High level usually, or high ticket usually, right? So they're always looking for high quality clients and consistent income, so they can have the cash flow in their business. Those are always the two main pain points that all entrepreneurs, or most entrepreneurs that I have seen, are looking for. So when it comes to that, you have to build a business. You have to have the mindset of, I'm working towards that ultimate vision and mission. And whatever you're doing now, there's a process to this madness, which is why I don't love the superficial marketing that attracts you with that whatever saying, right? Because there's a process to building a business. This is not just coming, build it and they will come, just like I said at the beginning. There's a process of implementing the right foundational pieces and nurturing the right relationships, right? I always talk about the size of your business, the size of your relationships. So the more people that you know and know you, the better, right? That's how we also build a brand, which is on tomorrow's workshop, right? So you want to build it, and you want to set those foundational pieces in place. And there is a process to nurturing people, just like our human relationships. We don't just, I met Lehigh once. I know a little bit about what she does. I could see her passion, likewise her with me. We stay connected on LinkedIn. I kind of, look at her content, see what she's up to, and see where we can fit, where I can, support her, and vice versa. I'm sure she's doing the same. But the relationship building takes time. There needs to be exposures in our journey, just like with your personal friends. You meet someone, I don't know, 10 times before you actually, trust that person enough to help them at a higher level. It's the same way online. Obviously, online, it takes a little bit longer because it's virtual relationship building, right? That's why I make it a commitment. Everyone in my audience, I want to meet them virtually or live if we can, if we live within, one another's territories. Because it's completely different thing, right? I mean, that's how we build trust with one another. And we all heard the build, know, like, and trust, it's so over said because it's so true. Sometimes the things that we keep hearing is because they're foundational principles. It's not something that you're just gonna hear it today and you're gonna forget about it tomorrow. Everything is business is human relationships. We're in the business of humans. We're in the business of other people, right? At the end of it, at the core of the business, the more people that know you or the bigger your business, the bigger your impact. But again, it's just not a number, right? It's not just like, okay, so I know, 100,000 people and I'm going to have a successful business. Between those two things, there's a big gap, right? So how are you laying the foundation of building this relationship with those, 100,000 people? That's why I don't believe in quantity, but I also believe that we always must be growing out the people that know us, the way that people come exposed to us. So this gap is where most people lack the information that they need, right? So they'll, we all have heard or received the sleazy sales messages on LinkedIn or Facebook. It's like, hey, I just connected with you. Do you want to buy my program? Right? So we have to stay very aware in the process of building relationships, and the process sometimes might take months, right? 3 months, 6 months, a year, depending on how many touch points you have with the person, right? I mean, if I only see Lehigh once a year, I don't know, maybe I'll know like what she's up to and vice versa. But if not, then it's going to take me that long to collaborate with her, support her, and vice versa, right? So we need to have the foundations laid in the right way in the business so that we can close that gap between someone just getting to know about you all the way to you serving them as a high level client. Legacy mindset. So everything we do here in the day-to-day, even though sometimes we might not be getting the immediate results, I think it's very helpful to know that we are building we're creating assets and leverage. Just like the investor mindset I mentioned before, I think it's very helpful in business to have an investor's mindset because you're always the investor back in the business, right? You're always that person that's going to feed the business. The business is like a baby. For all of us that are moms, I compare business to parenting a lot. So it's like a baby. You got to feed it, right? And I feel it's also like phases and stages of life. When you're 1 year old, you're 1 year old. You have those needs. When you're just at the beginning, you just want to get your first couple of clients. You're not really confident what you do and how you position yourself in the market and all of that. But then you grow, you become 2, you become 3, 4, 5, 6. The problems and the things that you're focusing on change. Right? You're not focusing on the same problem year 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 as you are year 10, right? Because year 10, you are at a different scale, right? Obviously, if you have, consistently build a business. I mean, if you work part-time on your business, that's not, you're just going to get part-time results, just like anything. Everything takes a lot of energy. Right? So you do have to stay committed in it and be very purposeful. But having the legacy mindset, I think, is really important, especially in the days when you just feel like you are lost and you just don't know what the purpose is of, why you're doing so much work, because a lot of the mindset stuff that kind of tricks us, it's like, I'm doing so much work, but I'm not getting the result. I don't know if I'm the only one that has thought that. But unless you go back to the bigger thing that you are building, then that might get in the way from you stopping or starting something that you need to continue maybe, right? Because even inaction is a problem, right? I mean, business is all about action, fast, right? The faster you take the action, the faster you know whether it works or not. If you don't take the action, then you will never know, right? So you got to become very, very, disciplined. And we all talk about, everyone loves the word strategy. I love it as well. But again, without the mindset, are you going to take the action? I always tell my clients, I can give you all the strategies that you want to move your business forward, because I have a lot of experience in this by now. But are you going to, take that action and implement it, right? Because that's where the magic is. Otherwise, no one can help you. No coach, no mentor. I'm sure you can't help your clients either with the areas of expertise that you all, possess. So you got to have that. Investor mindset is you got to invest in you. You are the visionary. You are the CEO. If you don't have the knowledge, the skills, the education, how do you know what is the next right decision for you, right? You just kind of, I don't know, throwing things on the spaghetti on the wall. You're making decisions. You're like, well, maybe you're just consuming this content or that content. It's purposeless. You're not focused. I speak about focus very often in business, because everything takes a lot of focus. You need to stay very focused and intentional on the things you're doing. Otherwise, distraction is a killer of your productivity, right? God knows we have a lot of distractions in today's world. But you understanding, the things that you're working towards, and to make the right decisions, who is maybe the next person I need to bring on my team? Who is the next type of client I'm looking for? What is the next strategy I need to implement that's going to move me forward in the journey, in the step and phase and stage that I'm currently in? That's why comparison is a killer in business as well, just like distraction is. Do not compare yourself to someone else's journey. I always say entrepreneurship journey is very authentic and unique. Of course, there's fundamentals and all of that, but you just don't know who is where and why that next step they're taking is right for them. Because again, you just don't know what phase and stage of business they're in. It's just like life. I don't see life and business as different at all. It's just like, I don't know, Elona's got 5 years in business. She's in year 5 in her business, and maybe I'll put out content that you might, get drawn to, but you don't know my process. You don't want to feel bad about the results I've created, because I've been working for 5 years to get there. I've been working for that long. So you don't want to do that. That's why you want to measure your steps with your own. You want to measure yourself with how you were yesterday. You got to take baby steps, and you got to stay very focused, put your blinders on. Sometimes I take them off and I look in the market, I see what's happening. I think it's important to stay aware, especially in your industry. You'll need to stay updated, what's happening, what's not happening, because a lot of that's going to, adapt your decisions as well. But day to day, once you have set your strategy and you have the right mindset, and you're very focused on what you're doing, then stay very focused to that. That's really, really important, I think. Pay yourself first in entrepreneurship, right? So if you have created enough cash flow in your business, pay yourself first, right? Because it's just like self-care. We can't help anyone if we don't help ourselves. If you are struggling with your bills, debt, other things happening in your personal life, that's just going to come right into the business, right? Because a lot of us utilize the business as that channel to fund our personal lives and our goals and dreams, right? So definitely do that. Pay yourself first. Take care of you first. And then the rest, you invest it back in the business. Because again, business like a baby. He wants toys. He wants the latest thing. He wants, there's always things to do. You got to feed the business at all times. So feed yourself first before you have enough room and energy to feed the baby, which is the business, right? So I think that's a really helpful concept to share with you as well. Your business will build you. We talk about this very often, but I always thought, oh, I'm building a business, I'm building a purpose-driven business. I didn't realize that it's all personal stuff, right? It's all how I'm feeling that day. It's personal, it's the emotional intelligence, it's the emotional management, it's the roller coasters we go through emotionally. It's the sometimes losing purpose or losing the vision and impact for the future. I'm like, why am I doing this right now? Like, this is too much work. But rest assured that I've learned spiritually that everything is prepping you for the next step. So whatever you're doing now, even though you don't see it immediately, is going to serve you for the next thing you're doing. So you just got to build faith, a lot of faith, right? Because this is a very uncertain territory. The beauty of it is that it's so uncertain. Well, the beauty of it is that there's no limit. You can create whatever you like, right? You can have everything, you can realize your potential, all of that. And the other, nerve-wracking or anxiety-provoking part is that it's so uncertain. Anything can happen. I built my business from, in a good, let's say at a good phase, and then it just fell back down. And I had to build it again. And then it fell back down and I had to build it again. So this is the journey. This is a roller coaster ride, right? But again, if your impact and vision is there, then this is just me building myself. That's what I tell myself. Like every challenge is you getting wiser, stronger, resilient. You're learning from things. I hear a lot of times, sometimes we make the wrong decision because we don't know, like you're going to make mistakes. Forget about it. You're going to make mistakes. This is the school of life, right? School of life is going to teach you. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, but from each one of those, do not let those to stop you from making the right decision moving forward, because a lot of people do that. Learn from them, make yourself, wiser, and make the next more informed decision that you possibly can. So even that bad experience really served you for something else. So you got to look at things that way. Otherwise, you can let a lot of things stop you, and from moving your business forward and from playing small, right? From playing at a bigger scale. I mean, depending on what your business goals are. So you can't let that stop you. You're just going to use it as leverage and information to keep moving forward for the next thing that you want to do. So that's what that is. So guys, let me know, how many years are you in your business in the chat? I'm curious to know how many years you've had your business. Go, everyone. All right. Lehigh, 1.5 years. Marglen's saying 3 years. Cool. Anila, 1.5. Awesome. Devani is a newbie. Welcome to entrepreneurship. That's what I say. Love it. Sarah, coaching 4, but 5 in marketing. Yeah, absolutely. Then Corey's the 2nd year. Love it. Love it. Yeah, so year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, you probably have seen, for those of you that, Sarah, you're in year 4, you've sort of seen the journey of growth, right? And the way that you have evolved with the business. Because a lot of times in this journey, whatever we start with, like I started with executive coaching, I thought that that's what I would do for the rest of my business journey, let's say. But you change because you learn more about yourself. The things that you thought was good, I don't know, 3 years ago, you've already grown and developed. So you kind of grow you just kind of evolve your business offers, the top market that you serve. I always say, keep the relationships that you've always built. You got to stay open, but you have to still evolve. So yeah, I think that's kind of probably what you've experienced as well. And a lot of you that even in year 1 or 2 or 3, you kind of look back at the year and you're like, oh my goodness, like you're in a completely different spot from where you started. And it will always be that way. That's why you got to have a lot of faith and courage and trust that whatever's happening now is exactly the perfect thing for you.
No, not right now. You can use it. Do you want the charger?
I have it.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. I'll let you know. Don't worry. I don't need that right now.
Okay. Anila is at work because I know her. And she does her business on the side as well. So there we go. Muted there. Yeah. And yeah, what have you learned in your journey thus far? just share like one, I guess, one lesson that you've learned in the chat. I'd love to hear that as well. Definitely a lot of learnings, but one thing that has stood out to you.
Sorry, are you talking to me?
Oh, Sarah, you could share since you have
Oh,
your
okay.
mic on.
One thing I learned was that was kind of a realization is that in business, because there is a kind of a time lapse between our efforts and the results we get. So focusing on the result is not a good thing mentally for us. So it's better to focus on the activity, like accomplishing an activity on our daily basis, than focusing on the results we get from it. Because like, as if like, for example, as you said, marketing your business daily, it's better for it to be a check mark every day and you focus on accomplishing that task than to see the results you get from it, because the results may not come, anytime soon, but it is coming. So focusing on activity will give you the consistency and the results that you want later in time. So I thought that was a big lesson.
I'm glad you had your mic open because that's big. I love that. Yeah, focusing on the process and the impact goals for sure is so true, because the result is always going to be the byproduct of what you do to get there, right? And focusing on the process is also where we build ourselves the most as well, right? So we're learning new things, we're trying new things, we're discovering so much about ourselves, our abilities, and all of that. So that process is sacred.
Yeah, especially mindset wise, I think it's because we don't see the results, we may get disappointed, discouraged, and demotivated. But when you look at okay, I'm done the process, I'm completed the task, I've completed. So then it will give you feel good kind of feeling, but at the same time, you don't get disappointed, but you don't see the results right away.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And it keeps you going, because Tony Robbins says happiness equals progress. Right? You get happy. I think it's meant to be that way. Otherwise, there would be no entrepreneurs. There would be no people pursuing this path. Everyone will work under someone else's vision because you're building it. I was like, you're the builder. You're building it. You're the only one that's going to move the ship forward if you are the captain. So a lot of times you're doing that. So yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for sharing. Conversation is always the best because we feed off each other. And of course, a lot of you have, you have your personal unique experience in it as well. But a lot of things repeat, right? Anila saying consistency, determine, and love it. Love what you do. Otherwise, you're not gonna make it. Don't follow copycat. I mean, if you discover something that you want to serve a certain target market and have a certain offer because someone else has done it, I think it's okay at the beginning to kind of get that confidence from someone else's, build it, right? And that's okay. But then along the journey, you got to find your own path. You got to carve your own little path. You got to carve your own little, pathway, whatever that's called. So true. Love it. Love what you do. Believe in what you do. Belief is number one indicator of success. Believing in what you do, right? Yeah. Other than that, if you don't believe in it, you're not going to sell it. Your energy is going to let you down. You're not going to be able to transfer the energy you need to the other person, right? Because again, we pick up energies at the end of the day anyway, right? So if you are not confident in what you do and why you do it and the problem you solve, and you're always improving your solution to that problem, I think that's another important part too. Start with what you have, serve people, but then keep improving that result that you are able to provide. I think that's the other really important part. And never fall in love with your business model. Who cares? That could change. It's the way I serve people. I just always need to create business models that are going to serve my audience at the highest level and solve the problem that I want to solve with them. And I always say, whoever solves the biggest problems always, wins in their journey. This is not a competition, but you also got to, brand yourself in the marketplace. It's not just you, yourself, and I. in a cocoon, right? You're always co-creating, you're putting your energy out there in a marketplace as well. So the way that you build trust, position yourself and all of that, which we'll do a lot of that tomorrow, is also important. It's not, it's not just one way or another. Marie-Glenn says, focus on one thing and then make a plan to grow. Absolutely. Focus is crucial. Have you read that book, Marie-Glenn? The One Thing, focus on the one thing. I think that's the title of the book. It's amazing. It asks this question and challenges you to focus on this question. What is the next one thing that I need to do so that everything else becomes unnecessary or unimportant? And it really like drills you down. Have you read that book, Marie-Glenn?
No, unfortunately, I haven't read it, but I learned maybe the principles of it by experience. But I think I should have to hone it more.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely a book to have, and I always refer back to that because it's a book. It's a great training on focus, because a lot of times, again, distraction is a killer productivity. I mean, it's true everywhere. So definitely something I suggest there as well. But yeah, focusing. Corey says being consistent, consistency. Evis says being consistent and having an open mind. Oh yeah. So the more, that's why I talk about education, the more you can, your mindset, the more you can expose yourself to other people's journeys, the more you can read about topics, even outside the business. Honestly, I think because this is such a human development field at the end of the day, you're talking about, speaking to other humans and you're learning and growing yourself at all times. I think all topics, will enlighten you and will raise your consciousness. I think the more our consciousness is raised, the more we can start to connect the dots in our own individual journey, much more clarity. And there's no need for comparison because you could see that, oh, you're in the right path. It feels good to you. And lead from your heart. That's the message of my book. Lead from the heart, I always say. But you have to believe in what you do so that you can go to the heart, right? Otherwise, there's going to be a conflict. And if you have a conflict, the conflict is going to portray always out there. And one last secret I've learned, just like Marie-Glenn said from his experience, it's always about you. All the results that you want, you have to transform yourself to get there. This is the hard truth. But, because we all like, okay, give me the roadmap, give me the framework. That's all great and valuable. And thank God we have a lot of that available, but it's you getting to that journeys. That's why I love what Sarah said, the process. I become a process addict myself. I'm like, how do I dissect the process? How do I drill down the details and the steps? Because that's exactly, now we know, even with my clients, once you follow the steps in the process, then I know exactly they're going to get there, right? So dissecting the process to also improve it and make it more efficient, because we're all trying to save time. I mean, time is the biggest commodity. We can always make money, right? So we're always trying to save time so that obviously we can create the income that we're looking for. So it's all, so cool stuff. Evis, the name of the book is The One Thing. I am not sure who the author is because I'm horrible with names, but I definitely remember the title, and it must be everywhere, maybe on Amazon. Okay. And thank you guys so much for those answers. So I only have one more point that I want to share with you, so that I can get you on your way, but work on purpose alignment. I think we kind of shared a lot of that already, but kind of just to recap some of the things that we've been talking about, just focus on that one next step in your journey. Understand that there's a map and a framework. There's foundational pieces that are in place. Find someone, obviously, that has that framework and map, and then the rest will be your own process of growth and development. And I think the more you connect everything you do to that bigger vision, the more successful you will be in working on purpose, and then ensuring that your work is really meaningful and in that belief that we talked about. Because unless you connect it to the purpose, your life's mission is what I say, then you're not going to have that drive or persistency or discipline inside of you coming out in your day-to-day in the impact that you want to make, or even in those daily actions of maybe, going through a lot of conversations on a daily basis to build relationships. And maybe you're not always getting the traction, because remember what I said in the beginning of this workshop, that there's a gap between when people come to find out about you all the way to building a really genuine, meaningful relationship. So obviously you have to build relationships. I don't like that word, you get to build relationships with a lot of people so that, you can have always things happening in your business at all times. I always say that the one thing, and I'll talk about audience building when we do marketing, but one of the that we should always be doing is always building the way, or having a system in place of the way that people are finding out about you. Your relationship and your network, it's like a faucet. If you just close the faucet, you only have those people in there. And I mean, it's great, right? They already know you. Maybe some have become like your clients. Maybe some have become brands, loyal fans of your brand, right? Because everyone serves a great purpose, and there's nobody that comes to our lives for no purpose anyway, right? This is a spiritual part of entrepreneurship. But if you close the faucet, then eventually that pool will run dry, right? So your business is going to start to stay small, right? So if you want to grow the business, you constantly got to open up the faucet, and sometimes you got to have a lot of faucets, but all working on purpose so that people come in there's water in your sink. I don't know why I just thought of that metaphor, but it's kind of like an investor mindset. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, because what happens if some of the eggs break, right? You want to expand yourself, but again, you have to stay focused with that. And there's a way to do it where it all aligns with your bigger umbrella and your brand. That's why I'm a big brand girl. I'm a big umbrella person, because once you build the umbrella, underneath the umbrella, you can just have a lot of people under, like if it rains, let's just say, right? It's like your community, it's like your audience. Like, come on, I have a big umbrella. Everybody can come under it, and we all can kind of, not get wet from the rain. That's kind of how I look at it. Silly stuff, but it's, everyone's got their own things that connect with them, right? So for me, I've always seen business building as that brand umbrella. So build a brand umbrella, and I'll see, I'm going into tomorrow's, but I'll kind of just, stop with that final thought. Build a brand umbrella, a brand story, a big problem to a big solution to the problem you solve. And then under that, you can have different markets, right? And you can serve them, and you can create business models that relate to that market while you're always building your business. This is going to be good news for those of you that hate niching down. This was me. I'm like, and I understand. I think your one, you have to. I always say you can do it all, but just not all in your one or your two or three. You got to build leverage. You got to build a lot of different, things under the umbrella. But once you do that, all of that becomes assets, because you put your time and energy into all those markets or all those offers. And they all are going to be assets in your business. Just like you invest outside your business, some of us might have rental incomes, some of us might have Bitcoin investments, stock market, whatever it is, 401k, right? These are all financial, security things that we do to secure our future. Well, the business needs to do the same thing. You don't have to just do one thing. Again, it's a great thing for people like, that are drawn to the bigger umbrella. But, I also understand if you just want one offer, one market, and I suggest that's actually where you stay for a couple of years, because you need to position yourself well. And we all know that when you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. And in the beginning, if you have no network, you have to do what you have to do to get to where you want to go. That's another, affirmation that I tell myself that has really helped me in my journey. Because then it's like, if I'm doing something that maybe I don't want to do for the time being, it's just because it's a growing thing I'm doing to get to my ultimate goal. So everything is really building on one another. Yeah, Sarah found the name of the book. Thanks. So The Surprisingly Simple Truth About Extraordinary Results by Gary Keller. How could I forget Gary? So that's the author there. All right, guys, so we will wrap up. I thank you all for your time. I really hope it was helpful. Any key takeaways that you've had so far, definitely share them in the chat. I always want to know kind of your perspective and kind of what stuck with you, because I think we hear a lot of things, but even if you just like a book, I always like have an intention when I read a book, I'm not going to remember everything in there. But as long as I take away one or two purposeful actions that stuck with me and I apply them, it was great. You know, it was really worth my, I don't know, month or week that I put in the time to read this book, right? Not to mention all the awareness and knowledge that I just invested in. So, you know, I hope that you also had one big idea, one key takeaway from today that maybe, you know, you kind of knew, and sometimes we know some of these things, but hearing in a different way, it kind of clicks differently. Like the things that I've heard that I hear now click with me differently because I have a lot of more experience, knowledge, and awareness than it did maybe a year ago if I heard it then, right? Because I was in a completely different, you know, step in my journey. So I think that's really important as well. So invest in relationships. Thank you so much, Leah. I think that's a really great takeaway. That's a big business lesson for sure. Awesome. All right, Corey, you are welcome. Nothing is consistent. We grow with our business, relationships, or assets. We should continuously work on it. Investor mindset, invest in human capital and human relationships, right? I think that's the biggest thing and takeaway in business. And it's great because isn't it where we get the most happiness from our relationships? So in a way, if you're doing it right, and if you do it from the heart, and if you know what you're doing and you have the knowledge, skills, expertise, and experience and all of that, then, you know, you are going to have an automatic fulfilling life and a meaningful life, because it's always about the relationships at the end of the day anyway, right? So it's kind of like built in. So that's the beautiful part. All right, guys, I have some homework for you. For those of you that kind of want to just kind of take some time to reflect back on this, I always find that in the moments, like the way I usually consume content is I, you know, receive content and then I kind of need some reflection time to process it. And then I usually write away some takeaways, and these just become my next steps or things I want to explore further. So I would kind of, you know, share that with you to kind of suggest the same process for you, so that you are also applying, you know, some of the takeaways that you kind of got from here today. So what shifts you need to make in your current thinking in order to make the impact that you desire? So this is your thoughtful, intentional question after today. So definitely a quiet moment, you know, do your homework with yourself. And I think you'll find a lot of great clarity in that as well. I welcome you back tomorrow. I'm going to be talking about an iconic brand. For those of you that have the book, it's also available on Amazon. What I talked about today is chapter 3, which I titled Think Legacy. So sort of some of the main meat, I guess, from this, today's content is also in there in a lot more details, obviously, because it's a whole chapter. So, oh yeah, absolutely, Sarah. So the question is, what shifts you need to make in your current thinking in order to make the impact that you desire? Cool. I can also follow up with all of you, and of course, thank you for day one. If there's any, you know, questions or anything, and I'll send you the question in your inbox, so then you can have it on there as well. All right, that is it for today. I'll see you back here tomorrow at 12 o'clock, same Zoom link. Thank you to those of you that came, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Thanks so much, and have a great rest of your Monday. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Elona. Bye-bye.